keep coming back for more. That's ubnradio.com.
Oh, thank you. No, stop. You're embarrassing me. Cut it out. Hey, everybody, it's Lori H. Schwartz coming to you from sunny Hollywood, California with tech trends impacting your business. And we survived a crazy week of heat here in Los Angeles where literally we had brownouts, and I actually had some crayons melt in my car, which is extremely difficult to get off a car seat. Yeah, I had no idea. But you learn. Yeah. You learn these things as life, tosses you lemonade or something. Lemons? Very, very melty, hot lemons. Anyway, we have a very exciting show. One of my most favoritist people in the world is on our show today, and that is Mr. Tim Hanlon, who I'm calling the Advanced TV Ad Guy. Let's hear for Tim Hanlon. Wow. Big crowd today. Very big crowd.
Studio audience. Very impressive.
Yeah, they're huge. So Tim, just to give you a little introduction, he is basically one of the biggest brains around in the concentric fields of emerging media, digital technology, advertising. Tim speaks, writes, is published all over the place on really the future of media, and especially on how TV is changing and how television advertising is changing. And Tim wrote this very famous, in my world, paper, right? It was TV 2.0. Is that what it was called?
No, back when it wasn't sexy.
Yeah.
Circa 2000, yeah.
Yeah, he wrote this paper, and it was kind of famous to all of us in the advertising technology world. And this is before connected TVs, iPads, iPods, that fat Apple 6 Plus that I just ordered from Verizon and am so excited about. Before any of this stuff happened, Tim was speaking about where everything was going. And so this paper was it was a big deal. And Tim was, a mentor and sort of a hero of mine. And I thankfully got to work with him, got to be on panels with him. We were even at the same company for a second. And now Tim has his own company called the VR2 Group, where he's working with a lot of different companies consulting. And so, Tim, tell us about what you are up to, because you've had such an interesting career path.
Well, first, Lori, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Let's hear it for Tim Hanlon one more time, ladies and gentlemen. They love you, Tim. Love you.
It's great to see your producer taking part in the power of drops. Radio audio joke there. So, as you hinted, I spent more than enough time in the what is now the ad agency holding company space. A lot of it in the media agency part of that, which effectively started overlapping with digital. And back when it wasn't sexy, this is post-business school, Chicago booth here in Chicago, went back to the agency business, which I had started out way before in my first job out of college, and then meandered through TV news and other marketing kinds of things and digital, into the media agency space, which circa 2000 was a newly unbundled activity from what were ostensibly full-service advertising agency companies like a Leo Burnett. So Starcom, a media agency based in Chicago, in essence used to be or became unbundled from Leo Burnett, what used to be called the Leo Burnett Media Department. And in the early 2000s, you basically had a bunch of, I guess you could call them media smarties or nerds, if you will, that with their separation from the ad agency system began to kind of put their imprint on where things stood and where things were going, recognizing that television spending and media spending in general was a big part of the whole advertising economy. I was lucky enough to sort of be in that environment around that time, and frankly given a fairly nice long leash to kind of poke at some of the conventions, I guess, at the time of what quote unquote television is, how it got bought and sold and monetized, and how advertising worked or didn't work in it. And you also have to remember too, circa that time, you're looking at the introductions of things like, I don't know, the very first or second generation of interactive TV, and probably more importantly, DVR technology via TiVo and the old replay TV.
That was a big deal. And I think Tim had the role at his agency that I had later and that a lot of our colleagues had, which was ostensibly we were the new stuff people. Like if there's anything new, cool happening, it was all based in broadcast television at its heart. But when anything new popped up, inevitably you were called in. And Tim, at that time, were you always being asked to do like the sexy advanced TV presentations at all these meetings? Like were they flying you all over the place as the cool guy to do the sexy presentation?
Yeah, my appellation was Future Boy.
That's right.
Had,
right. And I was
cartoons with the jetpacks on my back and the like. And I'm sure you had some similar.
Yeah, I was new stuff girl.
Yourself.
New stuff girl or lab girl or that crazy Lori who talks about stuff coming.
Well, and I think that's kind of how this stuff starts, right? So I mean, fast forward to now. I've been running. I founded a strategic consulting and investment advisory firm. It's boutique. It's called the Verter Group. It's based here in Chicago. That is, it's focused on helping big companies in media and marketing understand the small, the fledgling, the potentially disruptive, and frankly, a whole bunch of the latter, which is, or the reverse, which is helping earlier stage firms who aim to topple the big guys or need to figure out a way to ingratiate themselves with. And frankly, that is a lot of what I've been doing over the last 2.5, almost 3 years now with Verter, is a rebound, if you will, or the just a revisit of some of the things, many of the things that you and I were both talking about 5, 10, even 15 years ago. Things like addressable, targeted TV advertising, and the ability to buy audiences, Nielsen rating points, and on-demand video, and God forbid, even the resurrection of interactive television. A lot of these things are actually more tangible and
real now.
Well, real, and I'll even go one step further. It's visceral. It's much more visceral now. I hear more panic, I guess, in people's voices these days, who are in chairs still in major agencies, major brands, major TV or media companies, who may have had some interest or at least listened to some of these protestations back 5, 10 years ago, and now for whatever reason see it almost much more clearly in their day-to-day. And a lot of them haven't figured it out business-wise what to do.
Now, do you think that, because a lot of what you did at different parts in your career at the agency and even now, do you have to have a strong sense of Wall Street, of how VCs work, about how startups work, that whole world of investing in tech companies, which is always a little piece of what I do and what a lot of my colleagues do, which is partnering with new technology companies, but inevitably there's an investment piece and there's their own business cycle. So do you think that will always be a part of your world?
I think it kind of has to be. A lot of what Verter does these days is indeed help investment folk, whether they be in the hedge fund space, trying to understand the agency, holding company space, or private equity firms and or venture firms who either want to help start up or augment major technology offerings that might have a significant impact. I was lucky enough around 2006 to segue from being sort of Mr. Future TV, Future Boy guy to being able to create with the echo and everything, to creating a ventures practice. Again, arguably before it was kind of sexy to do it, but within various brand names of the Publicis family, was able to create an almost 50 firm portfolio of early stage technology company investments and strategic partnerships. We did a little bit of that again at IPG with the Velociter entity, but it literally was the most visceral way I could think of to push the agenda, if you will, or push the issue of, let's call them uncomfortable truths about things like television being more unchained or more non-linear, shall we say, than the way big media agencies bought and assumed audiences watched.
So are startups then, are new technology companies coming to you because you speak their language and you also speak agency language and you also speak media company language? So you're kind of right now in the center. Are you continuously translating? Because I found often little startup tech companies are great at talking about who invested in them and what the tech does, but literally no clue how to talk to anybody else in the ecosystem.
Yeah, I think that's spot on, Lori. I think most of what I do every day, and what my my colleagues do every day is it's really mitigating a translation error. Back when circa, I keep using the word circa, so I'm going to retire that word right now. But back around 05, 06, when we
when we were 12, by the way, because we're very young and attractive people.
Well, for a future-oriented guy, going back in time with circa all the time doesn't seem right, does it? But around that time, the reason actually the whole ventures idea came about at Publicis was I started to get really tired of giving away my and my colleagues' time to mostly venture capital types who were frothing at the mouth about things like television and video and audio and other forms of media, the beginnings of social, all these things which had credibility to them, and yet the venture capitalists in particular, less so the companies actually, but certainly the venture capital investors behind them, had a very perverse lack of understanding of what you and I and others in our world were just sort of called basic fundamentals of marketing and advertising.
Right.
We all know that's not rocket science, but to that crowd,
it was new.
The sort of art and the mysticism, if you will, the sort of black box of how advertising gets done and made and media buys are done. It was, I just reacted kind of in a business sense to say, look, there's value in this connection to our world. Hell knows that we as agencies and brands and ad practitioners need to have a much more comprehensive understanding of where things are going if we're to survive. And frankly, a lot of the issues that you see the ad industry going through right now is stuff that you and I have seen for quite some time. Is the business model is wildly changing, and the very fundamentals of the media that agencies and marketers have been using over the years are fundamentally changing too. And you can only kick the can down the curb so many times, and I would argue that the wall is fast approaching.
So, and what you're talking about is something that my partner and I, through Storytech, our little company, that is exactly why we now created an education package, because we too were spending so much time teaching everybody about what was going on, and we realized, oh my God, that's our IP and it's time and it's energy, and we can't get to the next step with you and move this project forward or move the landscape forward, move the business forward, unless you understand what we're talking about. And so you're constantly educating folks, so there is value in that. You're absolutely right. So you packaged that up by taking equity stakes in these companies. Is that what drove you to create that environment?
Yeah, I not so officially called it validation capital. In some cases that was actual financial investment, but my starting point in both of those places, both at IPG, Velociter, and at within the bowels of Publicis prior to that, was an understanding, a belief that the money part of said startup wasn't necessarily the biggest challenge that they had or the biggest need that they had, largely because venture capitalists were the ones that were reaching out to us for full understanding of the business model.
Right.
So it really became more of how can we operationally be much more front and center with you, said company, either as the or one of a representative firm in a particular space that through our due diligence we recognize and hopefully can help proselytize with you, has some level of importance going forward in our world, even if most of our practitioners don't get it yet. I'll give you a great example.
Yeah, please example us away.
crowd apparently doesn't like that approach,
yeah.
but I'll try to
Wait,
muddle
we're gonna hear from the crowd in a second. I'm pretty sure.
Our first exit.
Crowd, how do you feel about what Tim's about to do? Okay.
I must tell you, Lori, this reminds me of a time when back in college, some friends of mine and I somehow talked our way up to the studios of Larry King back when he was doing his overnight radio show. And he had us on the air during the 3 o'clock Eastern Time AM hour and did a very similar thing where he introduced us to his studio audience. And, of course, at 3:05 in the morning Eastern Time, they were just about as rambunctious as the one that you have there. So,
yeah, these are very rambunctious folks. But so we're sorry we interrupted you, but they're very excited. They're
and we know how quickly they can turn. So
yeah, keep going.
The first exit that we had was a company which most people know now called Sling Media.
Okay, got it. Which had the Sling box, right?
And still does, right? And Dish Network bought it for roughly $400 million. But in 2006, to me, I saw something of significance there.
Right.
That this idea of what they coined was this term place shifting. Where, through one subscription, the ability to sling literally or access remotely one's already subscribed television services, wherever you might be in the world. It's just you're literally just shifting the environment from where you're accessing that TV set versus the set top in your home.
And just to add to this phenomena, which not the same technology, but TV everywhere is kind of doing that now. And so our kids are growing up, and that's normal to them. But back then, I used to mess with my husband, and I would get on my Sling box and I would change the cable box in the living room while he was watching TV, just to mess with him, So
join us next week for Lori's show about how to have a happy and
healthy marriage.
Exactly.
But what foresight for you to invest in that company, which exploded, basically.
Yeah. So and actually the ramifications of that really, I think, bore witness to what we were trying to achieve. Certainly, and secondarily, the financial benefit of an early stage investment and partnership with a company like Sling after 3 or so years was a nice little chunk of change for, frankly, not a whole lot of scratch and energy on our side. But in the interim, and this is the same with all of our companies and relationships, we had, I think, of the 43 that we invested in or partnered with, I think 37 of them either went public or were acquired, and a few others are still rambling around, and a few dead spots too. But while it's if you set it up properly, it is a strategic push pin, if you will, towards getting people to think a little bit more progressively and aggressively about where things are going, which in a corporate environment might be about how do you change the business model, how do you help your clients market better, faster, more efficiently, and keep them happy. Those kinds of things, and even if it's 0.5% of your total activity as a company, it is a strategic. I think in this space, a strategic mandatory to do these kinds of activities. And to your point, TV everywhere is effectively a commonplace notion, and I think you see the advent of various over-the-top video environments. You see, frankly, now the beginnings of what, at least for me, 10 years ago was, I thought, a pretty obvious conversation around, well, what do we do with those audiences? If there's a percentage of people that are accessing television in outside of their predetermined, market areas, maybe the ads that are delivered there either don't resonate, shouldn't be counted, should be counted, or need to be replaced, or other things. And all of those things, all of them and then some, are now arguably front and center in this angst-ridden discussion around what the medium formerly known as television.
So let me ask you a few questions around this, because it's so fascinating. So now when a new tech company approaches you in this space, is it the same type of deal still where you take an equity stake, or there's a certain percentage, or however you work it out? Or are you finding, as many of my colleagues are just finding in more of the creative contracts, that every time it's a new deal and you have to basically get a lawyer and they're creating a new deal, because it's such a moving, changing, volatile space that there isn't this one way to do it anymore?
Well, I can't speak to others' business models, but I think maybe to your point, I would suggest that every company, every situation is different. What I try to do is focus on, is there quality stuff that we can bring to a startup's table? If it's in the realm of, say, television or video, what is their understanding of the TV industry and how advertising is bought and sold? The distribution businesses that are out there, both now and envisioned. There's a lot of let's call it non-monetary, or what I again call validation capital, that has a lot of value beyond just getting actual financial investment. But there are some situations, especially the earliest of stages, where if we see something that is potentially very profound and we're willing to take a significant financial risk, we will. One of our mechanisms is angel investment. Now, through the auspices of Verter, it allows us to kind of have more of an outsized impact, more like maybe a seed investor, but sort of at an angel size investment kind of size effect. So the reality is that it's a range of stuff that we can bring to the table depending on the situation. And once the said startup and we kind of agree that we can be helpful to each other, then we figure out the economics accordingly. And we vary it depending on the situation. Later stage companies look a little different than earlier stage companies, et cetera.
So one question I wanted to ask you before we go to our next segment, but are you finding that Chicago has a particular type of business around this space, or are you doing business in all the different cities? Because I always hear New York's about media, LA is about entertainment. Obviously you have Silicon Valley, and there's a lot of chatter about Silicon Beach and tech coming to LA, but all these different cities now have tech communities. So do you feel that it matters what town you're in now, or is it kind of everywhere?
Yeah, a couple answers to that. One, when I left the agency world, having lived in Chicago, my third tour now for about a good 10, 12 years, I didn't really have any desire to kind of move. My family didn't either, if we didn't have to. We have two major airports and maybe a third within stone's throw in Milwaukee. So getting to places is not a challenge. And I would say that Chicago as a startup type of environment has really, within the last even, I would say, 4 years or so, really kind of moved up the food chain in terms of its vitality. And I think Chicago in general tends to be more to its roots, very much a, stick to its knitting, focus on making businesses happen, self-touting kind of dynamic. But when it comes to media and marketing and technology, I mean, Chicago has always been historically and still is a very strong marketing town. Advertising's a part of that. Clearly, New York is bigger in that respect. But, look, I spent a good decade plus in the media agencies of Publicis Group, which are still headquartered here in Chicago. I mean, granted, an outlier versus the rest of the industry.
Did you have multiple business category clients at Publicis, or was it mostly
sure.
packaged goods?
Yeah.
It was okay.
Packaged good, you name them. All it's across all major types of brand marketers and industries. But the issue there was, promotional marketing, right? Which arguably is the fuel of things like mobile devices and beacons in store and place-based media signage and location-based technologies and data. That to me, in my Chicago marketing kind of filter, is just another expression or an eventual expression of what we know today as promotional marketing, right? End cap displays and couponing and
right. Get them while they're
loyalty
there.
programs and the like. But when it comes to media and marketing, I frankly, in the realm of startups, I don't really think location matters a whole lot anymore. Yes, there's always going to be the intelligentsia in the Bay Area, and there's always going to be the media sort of white shoe crowd in New York. But some of the best and most compelling companies that I work with on the startup front in media technology are in places like Boston. And
no way. Just
yeah.
kidding.
I mean, or
Totally get it.
Cleveland, Ohio, Detroit,
Right.
Boise, Idaho.
So innovation is coming from everywhere now. It's not locked away. So let's jump into our next segment, which is the top trend segment, which is where we. What a good-looking trumpeter. In our top trend segment, where we talk about, the top trends right now that you're seeing, and I think this could probably be reflected in maybe some of the companies that you're looking at or investing in. So do you see, beaconing comes up a lot for folks and place-based technologies. What are you seeing right now? What's turning you on right now? What companies are you looking at with a special fever? Or feather.
Well, so let's start with beacons and the like. I think the hardware and the software parts of that, and for the lay folk out there, beacons are no more complicated than a very small little transmitter that elegantly sits on a wall or under shelf, or in a couple of different locations, say in a retail environment or a car dealership, that enables the mobile device to be tracked, but also be messaged too. And there's a bunch of interesting hardware, like Gimbal, which is a spinoff of Qualcomm. Estimote is a company in the hardware space. And there's some very compelling software firms that are starting to try to figure out how that hardware interoperates with the devices as they come into store, and the beginnings of what that messaging looks like. So firms like Swirl, in Cambridge, Massachusetts, is a good example. And I think right now you have, I think the hardware and the software the technology is just about ready for prime time. What I'm not sure is ready, and this is indicative of most technologies coming into media and marketing, is the stuff in which you fill that.
The content, the content, the user experience, the
loyalty schema,
the
promotions,
stories, right.
Couponing.
The
how do you integrate that with your, if you're a retailer, those kinds of things.
And the back ends I'm hearing are, where do you put the experience? On what screen? What end cap? Do we have a deal with them? And
right, the intrusiveness possibly of all that. So I think it's, a couple of fingers will be burned in the process, but I'm quite sanguine about the modernization, if you will, of the loyalty idea and the in-store customer experience idea with the mobile device plus the beacon technology or some iterations thereof. And by the way, that also probably extrapolates into things like payments and the in-store experience from an entertainment perspective. I think a lot of very, very interesting and compelling things there.
We'll pop up. So two questions on that front. So what do you make of, say, Macy's creating their own app for, image recognition in store because they don't want people doing Amazon price comparisons. They'd rather they do it in the Macy's walled garden. Will that fly, or do you think Amazon's already won? And what do you make of, Apple's 6 and 6 Plus and the Apple Pay program? Is that going to revolutionize the U.S. finance world?
I think right now, starting with your second one, I think the mobile payments idea, until now, and frankly still, is more of a solution in search of a problem. I'm not sure that the average consumer sees the benefit of paying with some mechanism that is not a credit card and that they're kind of used to, despite credit card breaches and the like. And frankly, if credit cards are so breachable, especially in the last number of months, who's to say that an electronic technology that doesn't even give you a receipt per se, or it deals with airwaves is not already going to be questioned, right? But I do believe that the mobile device it can be a key, literal and figurative key, to helping people smooth the process of in-store guidance and navigation, for one, especially if you're a guy and you're looking for groceries, right? guys don't like grocery shopping, right? Guys don't like shopping, period.
Who
right?
does like grocery shopping? I like regular shopping.
Well, I would argue guys in general.
Yes,
huge
it's true.
Overstatement. Just it's kind of like they like to get in and get out,
Yep.
so to speak.
Hunter gatherers.
Exactly, and I think the device can be a helpful way for that crowd. Any advancement around that, I think, is whether it's iPhone 6, whether it's beacon technologies. I think it's just in order for any of this to succeed, it needs to be seamless. It needs to be not about technology, but an extension of behavior that already exists, such as promotions, such as loyalty, and just make it simpler and easier and more streamlined. And consumers understand loyalty, they understand discounts, they understand saving money, they understand how to get around a store more intuitively. Those things, aided and abetted by technology, can be very, very powerful things. If it's technology first, don't know.
You need the story. So we were just saying that, like for me, when I go to Target, I have Target's cartwheel thing. I also have Target's mobile thing. I'm always like right at the cash register panicking to hopefully find a coupon of some kind, and I don't know which one to use. And then I'm like, did I pick the wrong things? And I don't actually want to think about which things to pick, but I'm hoping there's a coupon. So do you think that will all get more targeted and personalized so that I'll actually get coupons that are relevant to the brands and the things that I want?
Yeah, I think there's channel conflict right now. I mean, you've got app versus app. I mean, you look at something like Snip Snap or a company from Gannett called Keyring. These are sort of what I would call sort of Uber coupon plus mobile apps that combine place-based understanding with either uploaded or made available coupons as you walk into a store or as you're indicating that you're in a location. So that could arguably make your issues when you go to checkout less cumbersome.
It's stressful. It's actually stressful.
It is stressful. I think you have. I think you've got a number of companies that are creating their own sort of points and loyalty schema, like Shopkick, which is an interesting technology. Macy's and Target uses them, but if you're a retailer, brings in a new currency that isn't anything to do with Macy's or Target, right? It's a third-party currency,
and they don't like that.
Most retailers don't.
Right.
They want to control and own and frankly facilitate the customer experience. And if there's any loyalty to be had, they'd rather have it be their own loyalty schema and program. So again, I think it comes back to just it's a facilitation of making things easier for a consumer, not making it
more complex.
A good example would be mobile speed pass, right? So
yes.
If you've ever used the mobile speed pass key fob to get gas at the Mobil or Exxon gas stations, it's very cool, right?
Yes.
It's a neat little thing. You can just wave the thing, but other than that, it doesn't necessarily replace a whole lot. And also if I need a receipt for business purposes, I can't get one from it. So I don't, unless there's a loyalty thing or a reason for me to do it, aside from it's cool to do, I think consumers kind of scratch their head and go, so what? Yeah, and I think that's where mobile payments is right now.
Right, it has to be easy too. So just staying on this shopping idea, commerce idea for 1 second. So what do you make of the Chinese shopping site Alibaba and the insane amount that it will go public for, and all the chatter about how big it is? Is that just because it's, popular in China, or have they done something different and new that has really captured behavior?
I think Alibaba is a referendum on the gigantic middle class of China. And it's still relatively greenfield status as a modern consumer market. And obviously the growth of that and the ability to leverage that into a worldwide approach a la the Amazons and the eBays of the world. That said, I tweeted earlier today in a somewhat snarky way.
You? No.
Never. But today I made an exception. If you're a documentarian, I would argue you should get that footage today of Jack Ma on the the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange today, and keep it handy because, I'll call the top of a market or some level of irrational exuberance. When a company like Alibaba, and again, don't get me wrong, it's the huge potential there in terms of both Chinese and international markets. So don't get me wrong there, but the company is already has a market cap by the end of today beyond Amazon and eBay combined, as well as I think what I saw earlier today was like 27 or 28 of the Dow Jones Industrial Average 30 firms, and it feels quite irrational to me.
Right.
But it does underline the power of connectivity, the ability to create marketplaces, the ability to allow endpoints, both consumer at the beginning and factory or manufacturer at the end, to bid and competitively price things and make things more efficient. But I think there are a lot of other pieces to all that, like the last mile shipping thing, the loyalty thing, the social communications thing. I think the future of television and video thing. So many things that are all part and parcel to companies like Alibaba's success, and it doesn't happen in a vacuum.
And they're all kind of bubbling up now. What about in your house? Are there any new technologies that you personally love? Do you use voice activation on your Xbox? Do you have, a Nest managing your temperature? I mean, do you have a smart home? Does Mr. Advanced TV Guy, have all the latest toys, or are you more, I don't need that in my regular life? I talk about it, I buy and sell it, but I don't need to actually use it.
Yeah, we've given up electricity at our house. We have
Come to LA during heat waves. You can give up electricity.
We use an outhouse now because it gives us fresh air. We try to go cold turkey from all this tech stuff. Actually, I'm somewhat refreshingly old school. There was a time in my life where I felt like the new gadget, the new PDA, if you remember what those were.
I love my
those
Palm.
kinds of things were, crucial to understanding where things are going. I have two young children, 10 and 8 years old, and my wife, who is, I wouldn't say, Ms. Techie per se. I kind of like to gently go through their view of the world. In all things, by the way.
You're a smart husband.
but certainly in technology and media and television as well. And I let them kind of lead me to the reality check, right? And having young kids, they understand digital and social and the internet, perhaps a little too much sometimes. They understand and have grown up with, let's call it file-served television, right? Things that are basically always on demand or time shifted or Netflix or Amazon Prime enabled. So I already kind of just gently watch their behaviors and let them kind of inform it. And what I try not to do is pre-populate it with my own vision of things and let them sort of guide me. I think that just roots me just as a father in some respects, but it also, I think, is a more realistic understanding of how fast or how not fast certain things are happening.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, I have step teenagers, and they have been the best focus group for me over the last few years about what they do in the living room with TV. What is their TV? How they act socially, what things turn them on. And then now a 5-year-old who I'm watching adopt to tech in a way that it blows me away. So I think you're right. I think your family life and the people closest to you help, especially when you are looking all the way at the top, the latest. You need that grounding, and it does make your family like you better, which is very important. Is there any other tech that's been blowing you away that you're really bullish on right now? Anything else like augmented reality or, anything that's turning you on that you think is going to be huge?
Yeah, I do think there is a future for augmented reality. Frankly, I'm a little surprised it's kind of sort of taken a pause, but I think, the ability to bring important and helpful data into more real-world experiences, say navigating a city, walking by, that kind of stuff, I think is huge opportunity. But I also go back to the old television video stuff, right? You know, as an early adopter and believer in DVR technology such as TiVo and Replay TV, I actually sit back, lean back in my sofa in awe around TiVo.
I love TiVo still.
Exactly, and I think that why I'm newly in love with TiVo, not that I ever left, is they have done a very stellar job, and I think continue to kind of lead the pack now in this sort of integration of various forms of video on one platform and making them somewhat discoverable across them all. So the ability to kind of see a program, a show, a movie, and its availability either in live linear, network operator, on demand, stuff that you've actually recorded, and the holy Megillah of over-the-top video via streaming and other things yet to come. It reduces what I call the input problem, right? Where you have multiple inputs and you're toggling between. The ability to streamline and harmonize that, the video and frankly also audio from all sources.
Like so, one discovery area that pulls from everything, and you're saying that your TiVo does this for you right now.
The TiVo Romeo platform does that.
Right. Do you have one at home, a Romeo?
Yeah, I do.
Because I would love a Romeo if someone would send me one. I'd be happy to talk about it.
TiVo, if you're listening.
Yeah, TiVo, if you're listening. Yeah, we used to, when I was running the lab, I would get all the TiVos, and our house is still filled with them. Not the Romeo, but it is probably one of the best devices out there, but nobody knows because nobody wants to buy that device. They're buying their Xboxes and their Apple TVs and their Rokus instead.
Yeah, and that's a really, really crucial point. I do think we are, and you can mark the time and date of this conversation, the inevitability and relatively soon of more unbundled packages or approaches to watching television within the next 6 to 12 months. I think you will see a whole host of let's call them over-the-top streaming options. Roku has kind of been the leader in sort of harmonizing all of this kind of stuff on a common platform. But the ability to, instead of paying $150 to $200 a month for a classic cable bundle of services, of television and video services, the ability to, I wouldn't say a la carte, but to have more
choices,
digestible packages and offerings, yes. I think broadcasters have to grapple with that. I think cable networks have to grapple with that. And I think everybody from the maker studios to the machinimas to every other MCN, multi-channel network, and YouTube platform out there has the opportunity to get their own niche targeted content seated at that table. And it's a wonderful time, I think, for everybody. Quality content creators and distribution.
Well, so I have this weird, it's not weird, I'm sure everybody has this experience with my Apple TV when they add a new channel and then I have to do that authentication where they give me a code and I have to go online and activate it, and that drives me nuts because I'm not in the mood to go back to my PC or even do it on my phone or my iPad. I just want to watch the channel, and I just wish that it knew who I was because I've already turned on my Apple TV. And so to have to continuously authenticate makes me nuts right now. It's a break in the user experience. So you're kind of saying we're going to move past that. And Roku, you still have to authenticate, though. So do you think we'll ever get past that so it's easy? Or you think it's going to be these singular boxes? I'm going to have 10 different IP boxes.
Well, that's not Roku's fault, really. It's that of the content owner.
Right. They're all want you to authenticate.
And there is a desire and a huge business model to continue the pay for. It's the extension of the pay television model into devices. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The idea of authentication, I think, can get easier. I don't think it actually is all that difficult. I just think that right now most network operators are caught in a business model of, from the late 90s and 2000s of a sort of a triple play or quadruple play bundle where video/television is one part of the bundle. And if you really think about it, and most are, it really isn't a tripartite or quad play as much anymore as it is about just increased amounts of bandwidth, right? Because video is data and bits, so is voice, so is home security, so is the classic broadband connectivity. So I think you're seeing a number of network operators, especially smaller ones and community-oriented ones, actually question whether they want to be in the provision of bundle kind of business anymore, and maybe just sort of become more of a managed bandwidth at scale kind of play, and bring a what I call good enough TV solution into the mix, right? Roku, Apple TV, something that just streamlines, my over-the-air broadcast signals, Aereo or whatever becomes of the the successors of Aereo. To me, all of this is inevitable, right? People, in essence, want the flexibility and the ability to kind of watch television or video on whatever screen they want, if it needs to be paid for or is expected to be paid for, fine. Just allow me the ease of logging in and watching it.
Yeah, I think that it's the ease part. I mean, I've often just forgotten the code and had to come back to the machine. Now, part of that is because I may not have the tablet with me or whatever, but it's not easy for me. So let's go to our last segment. This always goes so fast, and our audience is sitting on the edge of their seats, but we're going to do our last segment, which is, What's the Scoop? Nice, John. I like that one. And this is where, Tim, you tell us a little bit about where do you find out everything? Where should people be going to keep up with everything? I know a lot of people probably come to you, especially all these new companies, because you have a name in the industry, in that area of advanced television and advertising and startups in this space. But where do you go to find out new stuff?
Well, the one sort of truism that I constantly fall back on is I learn every day. There is this world, television, media, marketing, technology, startups, is ridiculously fast moving, and it is impossible, absolutely impossible, to keep up with all of it.
You don't sleep, right? Because I don't.
Well,
sleep.
there's that, but there's also, you could also go batty just trying to pick the right curation tools too.
Right.
I think the thing is you have to have a natural curiosity, and a pretty good sift of what's quality information and what's not. Now, probably like a lot of people or most people in this business, a lot of what I read and consume is, for pleasure, it's regular books and long form articles and that kind of stuff, and I will absolutely upload things to my Kindle to read long form, offline. But when it comes to industry stuff, it's ferociously online stuff. I like to read as many of the trade publications as possible. And as time goes on, those industry trade publications or industry trade entities, become much, much more narrowly focused.
Yep.
Making things more daunting, but yet making the insight in them, if you spend the time with them, much more remunerative. So a good example is an entity called Street Fight.
Mm-hmm. I haven't heard that one.
Street Fight is, specifically and religiously focused on, or obsessively focused on, the idea of local and mobile and location-based kinds of technology, and so anything around payments, anything around in-store behaviors, those kinds of things. To newsletters like DOOH, or Digital Out of Home News, which is maybe circulated amongst maybe 2,000, 3,000 people, but in the small little world of Digital Out of Home, which has a role to play in all of this. Jason Hirschhorn's Media Redef, which is becoming a business of its own, which is sort of a nice curation thing and adds in some pop culture. But there's some really good longer form articles that, I like Ars Technica. ARS Technica, which is, kind of a fast company. These are kind of two of the maybe successors to what Wired used to be, which is sort of the long-form journalism of technology and media. That gives me a lot of perspective relative, say, to crucial but quickly digested news pieces from places like Multi-Channel News or Media Daily News and their various niche newsletters. So what I try to do is I try to get as niche as possible and find one or two sources in those niches, and then try to kind of go to them on a fairly regular basis. And just after a while, they start to kind of flow and run and overlap with each other, and you see the natural connection points.
Do you spend, like, have you said to yourself, I need to spend an hour every morning? So is it from, like, 8 to 9 you're reading, or 9 to 10, or whatever it is? Like, do you have a set time that you have said, I have to do this to keep up?
I think that would make me more productive and efficient, but it winds up being that way. And I think I will tell you there is a line that I draw, and it was a really tough one for me, but I figured this out about 3 years ago. The temptation to sit back and watch your tweet deck or whatever your feed-based thing is for all your social networks, including Twitter. And I like many, have just defaulted to Twitter as a real-time news information kind of environment for me. At least that's how I tend to use it. But you can waste an entire day and then some by focusing nothing more on making sure that you've retweeted the right thing, or you snarkily responded to something, or frankly, believing that any number of people actually care about what you're tweeting about. I think you kind of have to get over that. And I just look at all of these things as information input sources. And are there times where I will just look at the accumulated email for the day and just erase them all and start afresh tomorrow? Absolutely. You have to do that.
Do you do that? Do you really do that?
I do. I think it's healthy, and I will put it this way: if it's a theme, it will come back and will become recurrent, and you will see it in other forms and fashions in a week or two or days later. That's just my sort of approach. Everybody, I think it's probably an interesting topic, maybe a special show you might want to do about how people in this business and otherwise handle information overload. It's sort of a loose yet personal kind of filtering system.
I drink a lot.
But it comes from a lot of sources, I will tell you that. Yeah.
So is there anywhere that you're speaking soon, or any article that's being published, anything that we should keep our eyes on the lookout for?
Well, I'll be at the Television of Tomorrow show in December in New York, which is, kind of the
yearly mecca.
The yearly mecca of TV and advanced stuff. You can check out our website at vertergroup.com, and you'll just see the in-person section. You'll see where we, what small little panel conversation might be going on that we're either moderating or participating in. But hopefully it's one with you next door, or moderating as well, Lori. We don't get to be on the same panels as much as we used to anymore, but I look forward to the next time we get to do that. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
You'll be at CES with us, right?
CES, always a party. I always enjoy 150,000 screaming maniacs. And
Tim is an excellent tour guide also at CES, or I think tour guide doesn't do justice what we do at CES, but just really explaining what's happening on the show floor there and why some of these technologies are important. Again, speaking to how we kicked off today, which is that translation of all this for all the different parties, because I spend so much time on the entertainment side with folks making the stuff to explain to them why this stuff matters.
And again, it comes back to translation. I think what you do with StoryTech is a great example of that translation. It's as your colleague Brian has said many times, is how do you convey the importance of all of this technological advancement in parlance that people recognize and understand as important, right? And a lot of times it's about telling the story and how technology can facilitate telling that story. There's visceral ways of that, like movies and filmed entertainment and television, et cetera. But as we said earlier, things like the in-store experience and loyalty, that's just technology facilitating that process, making that story easier and more palatable in a modern way. That's more of an art than it is a science. Yeah. And as the world runs rampant with people who are scientists and engineers and the venture people that back them, my hope is that the people with more of the liberal arts-ish storytelling and humanistic kind of take on life can not only keep up with it, but translate it truly to being relevant and important going forward. Because if it doesn't, then we're all going to be in driverless cars and having our lives basically run by robots, and I don't think anybody really wants
Right.
that.
I think that's a great point because engineers are now being called back into play at companies again. It's cool to be an engineer, but you still need us. You still need the storytellers. So Tim, you are amazing, and we didn't do live video this time, and we don't have Tim in LA because of course he's in fabulous Chicago, but he is just a nice looking Midwestern man who happens to know a lot about this space. Wow. Everyone calm down. Wow,
Right.
the audience
You
has...
can turn up the applause line.
Oh, wow. They have never reacted to anybody that way. Calm down. Oh my God. The women in the audience were like throwing their underwear at us. Anyway, I can't thank you enough, Tim Hanlon of the Veritu Group, for coming and talking with us today, virtually through digital means. It's been so great to have you here on our Tech Trends show, and I hope you'll come back probably in a month or so to hear more about what you're up to and what are the companies that you are working on. What are bursting open. We'd love to hear more detail about specific companies. So we'll be knocking on your door again.
Absolute pleasure, Lori. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome to be had. Tim Hanlon, ladies and gentlemen, my hero, Tim Hanlon.
Thank you, everybody.
Well, that's it now from Los Angeles, Hollywood, where the temperature is in the 80s, I think, and we're very happy about that. Come and hear from us again here at the Tech Trends Show. World of Schwartz. It's been an exciting hour with Mr. Tim Hanlon. I always learn so much from talking to him. He's just the most grounded person in a very complex space. So come back and see us again real soon. Lori Schwartz here, Tech Trends, baby. That's where it's at.
Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's UBNradio.com.
Welcome to the new sound.